And this is Arrows and Acres, a podcast for families building something that lasts, with Daniel and Allison Hartman.
Yeah. We're raising up arrows, we're working the land, a husband, a wife, and a God-given plan. And no shortcuts, we're doing this right. Building a family that shines in the night. Arrows and acres, faith, family, home. You were never meant to do this alone. Arrows and acres, let's build something real. Welcome to the show. Let's go.
Hello, welcome back, and welcome to our podcast, Arrows and Acres, for the Hartmans. I'm Allison, and this is Daniel. Super excited to be here.
All right, what's the podcast about today?
Today, we are going to be talking about Proverbs 31. In fact, we're going to read through it, expository, kind of go through it, unpack it. The whole idea of Proverbs 31, it does not need to be a guilt trip. It's actually just a blueprint. It's not a limiting thing. It's liberating. And so we're going to have a lot of fun talking about one of our favorite proverbs. So
Yes, whom the Son sets free will be free indeed. And I believe that is the point of this topic. And the alternative is what I would see as bondage. Women don't have till they're 30. They don't have their first child. And because they're working on their career, they're working on authority in the home to maybe make more money than their husband, and that just takes the whole balance of the home. Doesn't have to, but more times than not, it does. So to do that, you have to be promiscuous. That's part of being free as a woman, which is completely unbiblical, and then you get an abortion. So then you have a spirit of murder that you're living with, and then the whole feminist doctrine is in league with the Muslim faith, and which is, to boil down the Muslim faith, the end result is women being led around by a stick wearing a beekeeper suit. And feminists have no problem with being in league with the Muslim faith, which is just wow. How does it even go there? But let's look more at what God says and the freedom to walk in this freedom of this beautiful relationship between husband and wife, children, to have this so many businesses. This Proverbs 31 woman is like an entrepreneur of entrepreneurs, like the next level entrepreneur, and not lazy in any way.
Before the program, we were just talking about what was the statistic about the average age of women getting married?
Yeah,
Daniel was just hitting on it. It's actually now its average age is 30.
Yeah, and how much of your life has been missed by waiting that long.
That's 3 or 4 children that you're not going to have. And if you're truly operating in this feminist worldview, you're going to be promiscuous, have an abortion, and then have to live with this intense regret versus have a loving relationship with your husband and have children that are amazing, and you're discipling them, and you're fulfilling your mission.
It's just a bad cycle. Obviously, not everyone is going to go to that extreme, but
that is the end, though. That is the point of it.
Right, but not everyone is going to end up in the worst case scenario, but it's the potential's there.
Well, when I was younger, that was who was getting the abortions, was these church girls. The majority of the ones that got abortions were in church.
Right. And you know that because your mom worked at
as a child, my mom was
pregnancy center.
Life Resource Center, saving babies, and the majority of them came from the church.
But instead of talking about like the negative, let's kind of talk about the positive. What does God say about what the Proverbs 31 woman looks like, and why this is such a positive, fun topic? It is, when I was in college, yes, it was very much career driven. Why would you spend 30 grand on an education if you weren't going to use it? which brings us to the point we talked about yesterday of why we're not really fans of college, pushing college, especially for young ladies. If they're wanting to be homemakers, if they're wanting to be this Proverbs 31, there's
Well,
that.
but if you're homeschooling your children, I mean, it's certainly, learning how to learn and teaching your children. I mean, that's,
Mm,
it's definitely not to say you need a college education to do that, but we all need to have a love of learning
yeah.
and especially the word.
Right. But what I was going to say is you feel that pressure of needing to kind of get your money's worth once you get that college education. So the two go hand in hand in a negative, and if you're not aware of it, then you'll just go right along with that trend.
And
And so
obviously Allison has a college degree. I have a college degree, so we completely see things
yeah,
differently
we did
than
it.
we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we did it exactly the way
Right.
culture said to do it. And now we're rethinking this as we're raising our children and saying it is not necessary. Not only is it not necessary, but it can actually be damaging.
And we're gonna actually be releasing in a full episode on just thoughts around college, when it actually makes sense and why most of the time it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And we're going to be bringing a lot of statistics and data to back that. So be sure to catch that episode.
Yeah, the
Before we,
economic cost is much greater as a majority rule to go to college than to have $120,000 like in that 4-year time span to begin your life.
but I feel like it's important to say before you read the scriptures, a quote that I've often quoted and remembered that's important, especially from moms, because I'm going to be coming from the point of view of a mother. Um, I'm not a man, and so, but even though this topic is not just for females, I think it's important for men to understand what a Proverbs 31 woman is. But comparison is the thief of all joy. And so when you start comparing and you're listening and you're thinking, if only I could be like so and so, if only I could homeschool like, my neighbor down the street, or if I could have as many children as the Hartmans, or if I could, no, it's not about comparing to any person. What we want to compare ourselves to is what we're about to read, which is the Word of God, which is the only thing be a foundation of why we make decisions. So,
And if you're hearing in any way condemnation about what we're saying, you're not listening. Whom the Son sets free will be free indeed. Life in Christ is freedom, freedom from sin, freedom from bondage,
mm,
and freedom to have the amazing designer of the world designed specifically to exactly to your genetic code, everything that he has planned for your life. And to walk in that freedom is to truly be free. It's not to be a doormat. And I think that's what a lot of Christianity points to
mm,
in some of these verses. And it's just simply not the reality. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. So the question is, where is she? Where is this woman? And it can be any woman that chooses to do this. And her worth is far above any material wealth. There is no material wealth that could be placed upon a virtuous
right.
woman.
God places such a value on this type of woman. So he makes a contrast of different types of women that are not so good, but this is the woman that he actually puts a dollar amount on. It's the highest level, which is why we as parents need to push that to our daughters, that your worth is so high in God's eyes. Don't cheapen it by dressing like the world and showing it all off. That's super super important, and you can use this verse to back yourself up and say you're not to be cheapened by wearing things that just have
And
the
First
opposite sex.
Thessalonians 4 goes into that, into purity. Just throw that in there if you want
Yeah.
to go there. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain.
Mm.
So just as uh really both the husband and wife are, it says, went down lower, it says he'll be known in the city gates. The work of a woman, and how we work our lives, uh, is that because of all this work, there's an abundance. There's more than we need, and the heart of her husband safely trust and will have no lack of.
I had a thought about the safely trust her. We talked yesterday about our personalities are very different. And so sometimes I think husbands don't really trust their wives, and so they feel the need to constantly usurp her and be that final authority. And it really comes across, especially to children, as very authoritative and domineering and lacking in love. But a wife can feel the same way. If that husband is constantly squashing her personality, that's not good. You're not going to feel loved. And so this verse is speaking directly to the husband to trust. If that's the kind of wife you have, um, you need to be able to trust her. And it's not just trust her that she's going to be loyal, but trust that she actually might have something, some input that would be valid to listen to.
Which goes into the next verse. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. So that trust
Mhm.
is probably, I think, one of the most important things you want in an employee, you want in a mate, you want in anything in business, is you have to be able to trust the people that are around you. And someone that's out for your good and not to do evil is someone that you can trust.
Mm. She's got your best interest.
She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like merchant ships. She brings food from afar. So, seamstress, willingly working with her hands, uh, like a merchant ship. It's not in small amounts. Like this, if you're talking about a ship, you're talking like it's going to weather the high seas, and it's a lot of
Mm.
goods. Eh,
Back up to the willingly works with her hands. A lot of times we in our minds we picture a Proverbs 31 woman just basically sitting home baking bread and just sitting reading to children. And that actually sounds really good, but that's not what it says. She's working. She's a worker. And I think for us parents, we have to instill that work ethic in our children. We were talking the other day just how you've got 40-year-olds raising children and they're not even adults themselves because they haven't been taught that work ethic. We have a very strict policy. When I was 16, I got a job at McDonald's, which I would never let my children get a job right now at McDonald's, but it was not a good environment. But I remember we had this boss, and she would always come by and say, "You got time to lean, you got time to clean." And I've really adopted that phrase and that mindset. I don't like idleness in my home. Number one, idleness, we know what happens from people that are idle. They get into trouble. They're constantly meddling. You have time to meddle. We were talking about this last night. Women that meddle, they usually have too much time on their hands.
Well,
But
an
if you're
idle mind is the devil's workshop, and that is a saying of old that is like, get busy,
Yeah, and so
get
if we're
busy.
training our children
Obviously,
properly,
Mary and Martha, there's time to sit at Jesus' feet and make
right?
importance of that. Not, you don't want to be so busy that.
Well, you've got to be balanced. Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be balance, but if you're in any way getting
Mhm.
into trouble or gossip or slander or in other people's business, you obviously need to do something productive with your
And
time.
you're going to get pressure from families, other friends and family members that'll say, "Man, you work your children too hard." But I'm telling you from experience, now that we're through it with four of ours, every single one of we'll have to do a show with our married girls and boys because they can explain to you how grateful they are for that work ethic that we instilled in them because now they do not have to worry about where their food and their income's coming from because they already know how to work because we've taught them at such a young age. And this is exactly why.
She brings her food from afar, meaning it's some nice stuff on the table. I mean, that do you think of food that's imported, So it's again, this what we're talking about is abundance, and the fruit of sowing this lifestyle is abundance.
You can skip this next verse.
She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household. And we're laughing because we're Allison and I both are kind of on a
We
college college quote unquote college schedule. We stay
But
up
to our
late,
defense,
get
we
up
have
late.
more teenagers living with us than not, and teenagers love to stay up late. And so if you wanna have a time with your children to do devotions, to be with them, I have a
Except
lot of bed talks
except I
with
got
them.
up before dawn today and
Ugh.
yesterday and yesterday and
So
yesterday.
he just never sleeps. I'll make up for it in the morning.
Right. Yeah, she makes
But we
up for my lack of
definitely
sleep.
burn the midnight oil.
So she provides for her household. And obviously around the clock. That's you know, and a portion for her maidservants, meaning the people that are working for her. She considers a field and buys it, and from her profits she plants
And I think that's
a
important,
vineyard.
the portion for our maidservants. Something that we've done, we talked about maybe doing a whole podcast on is the idea of training up others underneath you, having a discipleship program. And that's something we've done a lot. Over the years, we've had many interns. We treat them like family, which means they follow our rules. But of course, we feed them, we treat them like a family member, but we're able to decide.
I think you guys should really dial in on, these area of verses right now. Really, they highlight something, and that is, where does the first economy start,
Yeah.
and practically, what does that look like in your own family right now? Because a lot of people are going to assume that are listening, and opposing voices. Well, economy is, we all have to have two jobs. We're going to work outside the home. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. What is, based off of what that reads right there in the scriptures, what does it look like in your family practically?
Well, I mean, right here it talks about being a realtor. I mean, that's basically, buying and selling land, and that's what we're doing. Making food. Obviously, we're doing that. We have to eat out a lot of times because we don't have time, especially if our whole family is going to do a job. And then uh, the clothing aspect, it talks about being a seamstress. Obviously in this day and age, you're buying your stuff from everywhere else. It doesn't really pay to do that, but it's still that's implementation into other areas that frees up
I
time.
think what you might be asking also is that it is better to do everything as a family. We have found that we have been able to blow the concept out of the water that children cost money, and that's why you don't want to have them. Contraire, we have found our income has increased the more children we've had. Things have gotten easier. People will say, "Oh, I feel so sad for you." Don't feel sorry for me. We get so much more accomplished. We make so much more money because we work as a team. We can divide and conquer so much more than say any. It's funny. I ran into a local competitor. So a photographer in our town. We photograph a lot of schools and families. So anyway, I ran into her at the dentist office, and she knew who we were. We knew who she was, but what she didn't realize is that all of our children work with us. And she said to me, "I now figured out how you're able to do the volume you're able to do. It's impossible." She has one child. She hires all of her employees. And she said, "I just couldn't figure out, how do you guys do the volume you do?" And I said, "I birthed all my employees." And she laughed. But the truth is, my best employees are my children or their spouses. Our most money we've ever made is the more children we've had and the more capable they've become. And the only way to get there is by raising them in that. Before they're 2, give them chores. Before they're 3, give them bigger chores. And
And again, idleness is not good. It's get busy. If there's time then there's time to read your Bible. There's time to pray. There's time to worship. There's time to work. There's time to build. There's not ever a time to just be idle and watch TV and watch. But yet we do that. And when we do have fun, we have fun. Like
We don't watch TV, but we watch
well, we'll watch a movie,
Christian
but
movies.
make sure it's a for Christ film. Go. But yeah, everything's intentional. And we always make sure that it's going to bring our family together, not fragment our family.
Yeah.
She girds herself with strength and strengtheneth her arms, and not a weak woman.
Such an opposite of what the world is teaching, that if you're this type of woman, you're going to be second, you're going to be weak, you're going to be, silent, you're not going to be able to be heard. I looked up the definition of meekness, and it's controlled strength. It's amazing. You think of strength equals men. No, women are to be meek and mild. That's not weak.
And
That's
my definition,
controlled strength.
my definition is power under control, with Moses being the meekest man that ever lived, and there was nothing weak about. He was just full of power. She girds herself with strength and strengtheneth her arm. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Again, they're the merchandise that fills up a ship. And we'll talk about our market here. And her lamp does not go out by night. So again, she's working late and she's getting up early, and so is our whole family. I mean, we are constantly doing something, and we put people into shock because we'll be at these retreats that we do 3 times a year, and people are like, "This is so much fun. Y'all are so much fun," and then they'll come home and see our life, and they're just like, "Whoa, y'all work a lot. But we're always working together and with a purpose and with
And
a
we
vision.
love what we do. So there's that. Like, it is not burdensome to go to work. Of course, after staying up late working and then getting up early, it gets tiresome. But we absolutely love what we do. We've been doing a photography business for 25 years now, and we've done it together. And it's only getting more fun because we're able to be a little bit choosier. We don't have to just pick up any photography job. We get to pick the stuff that we really enjoy, and that lines up with our belief system as well.
And we created 2 markets, and just if you do the math, with some of our vendors making as much as $1,500 a booth, up to 50 to 100 vendors, you can do the math and see very quickly how many small businesses and how much wealth has been created through these markets. And
Why don't you, just for the listeners, unpack that a little bit? What does the market look like? How did you start it? Where is it? What was the idea of how you would find a location? How'd you work that out?
Yeah.
Give the listeners some details.
Since it was my idea, I'll start it. It's kind of a joke because I came up with this idea and then he owned it. I was like, it was totally my idea. So Ethan, the son of ours that just got married, he was growing moringa trees and selling them in front of our studio, $10 a plant. And it was such a great product, but unfortunately the foot traffic was not there. We were in a, not a dead strip mall, but not a busy strip mall. We, as a photography studio, we didn't want walk-ins. So we didn't welcome walk-ins. We didn't need the business. We used the strip mall for people to just pick up pictures whenever they needed to. For the most part, it was a workplace. We were working. And so when people walked in the door, it normally stopped us from working. And most of the businesses in that strip mall were just not that busy enough. He would sell 5 or 6 plants, but nothing worth our trouble. And so he had a friend that would come and also sell. He made these, Isaac Smith, he made these David and Goliath.
Yeah, I mean,
Screenshots.
all of these things that we did were over time, just trial and error and growing and talking and as a family, basically, okay, how do we have a great product, and how do we market it? And
because you're not going to make enough money for it to be worth it if you're just selling 5 or 6. And so I got an idea and said, hey, why don't we start a little in our town? There was no farmers market. There was one in the neighboring city that was huge, but it was run by the city, very expensive,
well, we kept
lots of
trying
rules.
it. We kept trying it in front of our studio.
We did.
And we kept getting kicked out, or everybody would complain, or
Yeah.
just imagine. And then the guy next door to us said, "Oh, I've always wanted to start a market."
So there's a bowling
a-
alley next
in a
door to our strip
conversation.
mall. And I called him up, said, hey, would you be willing to let us use your parking lot for this market? And he said, yeah, I've actually always wanted to do that. Go for it. So no rent. We just showed up the first.
Yeah, I'll do it for free. And then Allison, of course, the amazing marketer that she is, called every news outlet imaginable, and it wound up the local newspapers, the TV, at least one of the 3 local TV stations came
And
out,
radio, yeah.
and it wound up. We had what, maybe 20 or 30
We had
vendors?
24 vendors that first market,
And there was like everyone
maybe 2,000 shoppers.
immediately showed up, and we're on a major highway, and basically it was so dangerous because
The line to get into the parking lot was in the middle of the main road.
I mean, no one ever imagined this kind of
We had
traffic.
to hire police to come and manage traffic. And then the next week,
Yeah, well, the police showed up. So,
we
yeah, we
had
heard of the next time, but but the first time it was crazy, and then we didn't have. And so what do people want? They want people buying their stuff, and if we can create a marketable
Mhm.
foot traffic, where people can spend $15 for 3 hours, $5 an hour, and do the math.
The
Like I said,
vendors, yeah.
the vendors, their little 10 by 10 spot can, sometimes make 300 to. Yes, I mean, sometimes they make nothing if they don't have a good product. That's a real easy way to learn to, if you got an ability to sell, and then have a good product. Some, like I said, some are making way over
Yeah.
$1,500, and some will make nothing because their products stink,
So the next week,
and that's okay too.
we had
You have no overhead.
48 vendors. So we doubled in 1 week. And then the rest is history. We've been going for 4 years. We have over 1,000 approved vendors. It's probably closer to 1,500. That was a number from last year. And then the city next to us, Milton, reached out and said, the actual city officials said, would you be willing to start a market like that in Milton? We would love it, but we don't want to do the work. And so I said, no, I'm way too busy. And I said, and you're going to make it difficult. I'm going to have to jump through red tape. I'm going to not be able to sell things I want, and I'm going to have to sell things I don't want. I want it to be family friendly, no references to drugs or alcohol or curse words or inappropriateness. And so, no. And so they came back and they said, I tell you what, we'll set you up basically like a church. You'll have free reign of whatever you want to do. You call the shots. We'll do all the paperwork for you, and we won't even charge you. I said, okay, fine. If you set it up like that. So we decided the first market is on a Saturday morning. The second one is on a Thursday night. So they didn't conflict. And so that one's growing. And we partnered with another family. And so they kind of now do the Saturday, we do but again, the reason was, go back to the verse that you said, she knows her merchandise is good. I knew Ethan's product was good, but he was struggling to get it out there. As soon as I was able to provide a good venue, he was 15, he sold $800 worth of moringa trees that first day. So as a 15-year-old boy selling trees that all he did was spend a few pennies on the seed, and then we went around, I posted on Facebook that I needed free pots. I was looking for pots because they were a couple bucks a piece. So that cuts into his profit. And, me, I only do what only I can do. He wasn't on Facebook. So I took that job, posting the need. I had a retired nursery guy reach out, said, if he'll come, I'll give him 2,000 pots for free. And when we came, he fell in love with my kids. They ended up planning some things for him.
And if you know anything about what a pot costs, it's some of them were, like 50-cent pots, and some of them were like $20 pots.
Do you see how Proverbs 31 does not need to be, it's you're being smothered. There's no freedom. Oh my word! To know that we started this and then we're able to employ so many businesses. And one last thing, this was smack dab in the middle of COVID, and so you had so many mom and pop stores that were shutting down. There was no place to sell. I take that back. This was post COVID, but it was still, some people were still wearing masks.
Oh, yeah.
People were in the black.
Right.
Is that what you call it, in the black, when you're not making money?
In the red.
And
in the red.
The black
See,
is, yeah.
Black is good.
Friday. Black
Red,
Friday is, yeah.
I always forget. But
Well, the idea
people were
just,
definitely thankful for the opportunity.
yeah, they got outside. They were interacting with people. The culture of the market is the vendors and the people love each other.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's an amazing thing. And
We had 3 or 4 vendors come to our son's wedding last weekend because we've built friendships with them all.
and I'll move on. She stretches out her hand to the distaff, and her hand holds to the spindle, which just basically she's spinning and making clothing, going back to the merchandise. And she extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. And that's one thing, Paul is like big time. Like, I want to take care of the poor. I want to take care of the needy. And I know I like, we're going to try to do this in our church Sunday, and just get basically have a fun kickball day and feed whoever comes. And that's, like one thing we're trying to do as a church, as a
And you're
family.
doing that not at the church, at your home. You're doing that
At
At
a
a
park.
like a
local
local
park,
park.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
a
we
local
can
park.
invite the community to come on out, show them how to have fun as a family, feed them. That's always a good way to get them in, and then share the gospel with them.
Yeah, and who more is needy than, if you're listening to this going, how in the world do you do this? And I feel like that's part of what we're doing here too, is meeting a need.
Sure.
She is not afraid of the snow, for her household, for all of her household is clothed with scarlet.
We're definitely not afraid of the snow. We're in Florida. It doesn't snow. If it does snow, we're super excited. And we're normally not properly clothed because we don't ever expect it. But last year, we got the most snow of any city, state in America and Canada. We were
That was 10, 11 inches of snow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
Amazing.
let's see here. And I was just looking for the Greek word for that. Just basically is talking about a color. But anyway, nice clothing, not shabby stuff. That clothed with scarlet, nice stuff, warm stuff. And again, we're talking about abundance, and not to be braggadocious. We give God the glory. We give God the praise. If anything comes out of this, our confidence is in ourselves. Our confidence is in the Lord. And I feel humbled even talking about all this, because we are so amazingly blessed and amazing. She makes tapestry for herself. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. And I think tapestry is talking about the ornaments of the house, a nice house, and different things like that. Her clothing is fine linen. I mean, that's the nicest clothing you can get.
And I definitely recommend linen sheets and a linen duvet cover. We do not sleep in anything but linen. It's good stuff. I have no idea. My girls all do linen
Well,
sheets.
the Bible
You want
actually
it,
says to, like, don't mix the two. Either have
something with
wool
frequency.
or linen.
If you're sleeping on
If you wear,
polyester, you're just sleeping on.
but it does wick away the It wears nicely. Cotton wears nicely.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, nice.
So where did your daughters get the design bug and the creative bug?
Yeah, so much more than I did. I was not, they did not get it from me. Probably Pinterest or, yeah, they're super creative, but they love nice things and they don't spend a lot of money. We're very big on bargain shopping. We garage sale a lot. Growing up, that's all we did was garage sale, Goodwill, of course, hand-me-downs. But yeah, they love their linen and their cotton. So,
But yeah, what you're saying though is that they have an eye, and for just like this room. If we pan around in this room, it's just amazing, and it's basically Hallie's design and Cedar and Vision and Asher and
So your
our
son-in-laws
wives.
and your
Yeah,
son and
yeah,
your
yeah,
daughters.
and other people helping us
I knew that
design and build, this room, our bedroom that we're
I
in, which
spend
is
so much time in this room working on emails. It's kind of where my home away from home. And so they thought, Mom, you live in this room all the time. And it was just kind of drab and had everybody's stuff and clutter. It was the dump space. And so they basically asked permission, could we redo your entire room? So they built the bookshelf, they put in the picture frame walls, painted it this beautiful green color. And so now it's like my favorite place in the house.
and they run some Airbnbs that we have, and they've decorated them all, and they're amazing at what they've done, and they stay rented out.
Mhm.
It's amazing. The husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land, and again, making an impact. Running for office, or the people that are in office are aware of what the family is doing,
Mm.
and the community is impacted. As you can kind of get a vision of what we're talking about, thousands of people walking through every day, and then hundreds and hundreds of vendors. The you know the You can imagine, the community knows who we are. You can't miss
But the
us.
Bible says that a name is worth more than riches, and so our business has obviously made money, but more importantly, we have a good name in our community. Of course, we have haters, thinking we have too many children, we're weird, our children dress conservatively,
Or
they
you're
don't
just
go to
having
prom.
children because it's a numbers game. I mean, that's one of
Yeah.
the craziest things.
Well, yeah,
Like,
the general public, yeah, there are some outliers that they just want to criticize, and that's fine. You know that those people exist. The other day, I put on Facebook we were selling eggs, and of course, everybody's great. I'll come by and grab some. I had this guy that, how dare you sell eggs for $5? The going rate for eggs is $1 for farm fresh eggs, and
like,
and you just have to
go
like
get your dollar eggs. I mean, it's
ignore
just
those kind of comments. But for the most part, our name has we have a favor in our community. Our community does know of him and likes him.
well, yeah, yeah. And I think it speaks more of the family and just the honor, and again, abundance and a rising tide raises all ships. I think that's the purpose of loving your brother, is to build up everyone around you and to make a difference in our world, our community.
Mm.
She makes linen garments. So not only does she make them for herself, wear them, she makes them and sells them and supplies sashes for the merchants. I think that's a belt. So again, clothing that sell other types of clothing to sell strength and honor are her clothing. It's not just talking about clothing, it's strength and honor. And to honor, to have honor, to be honored is that next level. What does it say to God? Lord, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Holy, we give him honor, and to someone that is trustworthy and diligent in their work, is it's not the doormat. It's not the world's view of what a biblical woman is. This is completely opposite. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in the time to come and have fun. I mean, the whole thing is about having a good time. This is not drudgery, guys. This is not, Allison's not doing stuff through because she has
Obligation.
to.
Yeah.
It's because you want to.
Mm.
She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness, and just can't stretch that. That's faith, hope, love. The greatest of these is love. There has to be all of this done with love.
And it's so proven, they have that science project where you take two plants and you feed them both the same thing and you speak blessings and kind words to that plant and it grows. And then the plant that you yell at and you tell bad things, it doesn't grow. Well, our children are the same way. If we are constantly, I remember with McKenna, when she was 3, we taught her how to make our bed. And the first time she did it, it was terrible. But I just encouraged her and said, that was amazing, but let's do it a little bit better here, a little bit better here. And as soon as she got it right, man, I praised her to everyone. And there was so much pride in her. And so every morning, can I make your bed now? She was excited about it. And so that is just a practical tip to, if you're not getting the results that you're after with your children, it's a really good chance it's because of what you're telling them. Self-fulfilling prophecy is so true. If you tell a child they're a brat, I was in the store the other day and it just made me want to cry. It was a mother that was calling her child out in front of the whole store and using profanity and just telling him what a terrible child he is. And I thought, that's exactly what he's going to turn out.
Right.
Is what you call him.
And just today, when I was doing photos of, I don't know how many 200 different children, groups of children, just the words out of my mouth as I'm speaking to them. I say things as I'm taking pictures to get the best picture that they've ever taken. And it's things that are life. And you can just see the things that I say, just like almost like lightning, just light them up. And just, you can see the aura of God, the image of God, just, as I snap that picture. Amazing how much life and death are in the power of the tongue. Choose life. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness.
And if all these scriptures just seem almost overwhelming
So
to
a leader, yeah, watching.
I was going to say, if all this just seems too impractical, subscribe to our subscribe to our email list. We are going to be, if you want to go deeper, if you want more practical tips, subscribe to our newsletter. That is where you're going to be able to get it. So go to arrowsandacres.com and subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to our podcast. This is so rich and so good, but I just started thinking there might be people they want more practical, and that's where you'll get it.
That's where they'll find the tools and resources, more information about the family camp as well.
Yes. So she's a leader watching and diligently looking over her family and does not eat the bread of idleness. So there's that idleness that we've been talking about.
Yes.
It's just not there at the and again, to be defeated. And if in any way that anyone watching this, if you're in any way defeated and downtrodden and downcast, that's not from God. That is from the enemy. And does not eat the bread of idleness. Get busy, get in the word, get to work. Ask God, in Proverbs 16, a man's mind plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps and makes him sure. Commit your thoughts unto
When
the
I walk
Lord,
into a house and I
and your
see
thoughts will become agreeable to his will.
all
So
the different people in the family just sitting in separate areas on their phones. Sometimes you're on your phone, you're being productive. I'm very productive on my phone, but they're all, just kind of time wasting. It really makes me sad. And I think this is an area that parents really need to step it up. And I see why it's done because it's easy. But I'm telling you, you got to do hard things when you're a parent. You don't have the chance to be lazy. because that is not what you want to produce.
Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. So again, not being idle and receiving praise for the work of the hands of what this picture is and what you're doing, what we're doing.
It's so nice to hear, especially Mother's Day and on my birthday. Just this past February, it was Daniel's birthday, and we have a tradition where we'll go around the room and ask each child, "What do you think of the birthday person or whoever's we're celebrating?" And it's just so neat too, because when you do get busy in a family, sometimes children, even though mine are amazing, sometimes they do forget to remind you, "Hey, I really appreciate you advertising our business or promoting us or going on Etsy and letting me know what orders I have or just, teaching us the word every night." But at those moments of those celebrations, we get to hear feedback. And it about blew me away the other day just hearing what our adult son in laws and our adult married children had to say about Daniel specifically, and even me, like on my birthday, just how grateful they were and are for the time we put into them. It's amazing. And sadly, a lot of people can't say that their married children are able to do that because they don't even have a relationship with them. But my encouragement is it doesn't start when they get married. It starts when they're little. You've got to start that relationship.
Yeah, and to give praise for a good job is what we're to do, and
Yeah.
and give God the glory for it. But we need to give thanks in everything, giving thanks for the abundance and the blessing that we have. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. So again, God just speaking this life and to each person here as you're breaking this spirit of idleness and getting to work, getting busy. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. So charming is doesn't go very far. Just speaking idle words that are flattery and the wink of the eye is deceitful.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not talk about things that are false. Let's talk about things that are real. Let's talk about that real merchantship, that real piece of property, that real item. Is charm is deceitful, beauty is passing. The beauty is what is of the inward man and woman.
And isn't it interesting that, those that really subscribe to the outside workforce, there's all this effort to be extremely charming and as beautiful as possible in the workforce. And we wonder why we see so many marriages fall and crumble, so many, divorces, because they're placing all of their interest in looking good and being charming to other men and in the workforse, and it's
So true.
it's not good.
It's another reason why
Yeah.
we think having your own business is so important. When you are in that workplace, they say that, like the medical field, teachers, when they're working so close together, it is very, very common
Even if
for,
it's not an affair, it's an emotional affair.
Yes, it's
That's
the
right.
heartstrings, right?
right.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
you're getting all dressed up and so somebody notices you, whereas
yeah,
at
so you
home
can
you're wearing frumpy sweatpants and never getting your hair done and looking nice for your spouse. So obviously there's going to be more of an attraction. Yeah.
but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, arrogancy, and the perverted and twisted speech do I hate. Those that love God hate sin. So the woman that fears the Lord, fearing the Lord is not just sitting there in awe and dread of God, but yet if we're in front of him, we're going to feel very insignificant. But it's loving what he loves. It's hating what he hates. So she shall be praised because her moral compass, your moral compass is in alignment, and you're going to be praised because your moral compass and you love what God loves and you hate what God hates. Give her the fruit of her hands and let her own works praise her in the gates. And the first part is about get her done. And the second part of this chapter is about praising and God loving on and accomplishments like, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is good. This is good. And let her own works praise her in the gates.
So I just want to dispel this idea that a stay-at-home mom is to sit around and basically do nothing, look pretty and read to her children, bake bread. That is not correct. That is not what the Bible teaches of a Proverbs 31 woman. I also want to say that the verse that talks about marrying the wife of your youth, that is a very key thing that we have found with our children that have married young. It's so beneficial because number one, you're not taking those years to possibly be promiscuous. Your chances of staying pure and innocent are much more likely. But also you have the time to have more children. You are each other's everything. You're each other's first everything. So college, that's kind of where college comes in as one of the options, but there's definitely a lot of downsides to it, and it takes so much of your time in order for you to become this Proverbs 31 woman who she's got a lot accomplished. You really need to get on it, and not to say that those that are getting up in years aren't going to end up being great wives, but the best, we talked about good, better, best. The best, get married young, have lots of children, more children than you can afford, and stay busy, be productive.
It's a great episode. The Woman Who Builds. It's definitely, a challenge. I think Proverbs 31 really lays down the gauntlet where, in a culture that we live in today, so many women say, I want a challenge and I want to use all of my skills and capabilities. I'm just as good as a man. And the reality is that's not true. The reality is as men, we cannot perform. We are not a Proverbs 31 woman.
Sure.
We have a specific role, but what an incredible thing that God says in Proverbs 31, and just the identity and the stature and the placement of the value of a woman. And that's what we've talked about here in this episode. And so any closing thoughts, remarks?
Everything that we're talking about is just to start and finish with this. It's just life, not death. And walking in God's design is, as we're talking about, and then the alternative of just being so dark. And what we're talking about is freeing to the family, freeing to the children, freeing. And then again, how much more are we going to get out of life if we're truly designed? We are designed by a designer, and then we're walking in accordance to the way we were made. And for each individual person, custom each life to walk before God in his perfect plan for our lives. And it's going to look different for everybody. And that's okay. Seek God with all your, heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love God and love neighbor. And yes, there's those that live godly will suffer persecution. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
I think of a Forrest Frank song, God's Ways Are Better. I love that song. I love watching children dance to it. But the words of that song is, I've searched the world to find, something better, but God's ways are better. And they're exciting and they're fun. When I run into people in town and they'll kind of give me that typical, oh my goodness, how many children do you have? You have 11 children. And no, I just smile back at them. I don't even have to say something sarcastic. It doesn't offend me because they just don't understand. They just don't realize God's ways are better. And again, God's ways aren't necessarily that you're going to have 11 children, but when you start embracing motherhood and being feminine, I love being feminine. I never used to really enjoy wearing dresses. And I'm not the type that I have to wear dresses, but I enjoy looking feminine. And I love my place in the home. It's a comfort.
Speaking of children, we just had a children open the door.
I love it.
Psalms 127:3 says, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward."
Yes.
Yeah. I have a closing little statement here, and it's this, and we'll sign off for the day. Proverbs 31 woman did not apologize for her life. She did not hedge or qualify or explain herself to women who had chosen differently. She worked, she built, she feared God, and at the end, her children and her husband stood up and called her blessed. That is not a small thing. That is not a lesser life. That is, by any honest accounting, an extraordinary one. And Allison and Daniel, you have a wife who has lived it, and it's proof that it can be done.
It can be done.
Be sure to catch the next episode.
Yes. Thanks for joining.
Every arrow takes aim, every acre takes work, every covenant kept when it hurts. Keep going, keep building,